Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all His blessings and bounties, not least of which is this opportunity and this space where we, inshallah, will hear something that might benefit us in this life as well as the hereafter. My beloved brothers, the topic, happiness in the home. The title, of course, is quite wide. And I'd like to start off by asking, how do we define happiness? What is happiness? If I asked you, are you happy? And if you said yes, then I can ask you, why are you happy? Or if you say, I'm not happy, and then I can ask you, why are you not happy? And you may say to me, rightly so, that we don't need to define happiness. We know what happiness means. And that's true. But for the sake of argument and for the sake of building a case, especially academically, and for the sake of research, we need to define what happiness means. So what does happiness mean? And I've tried to find many definitions, and there are many definitions, but they all are based on the concept of being content, being satisfied, being having a purpose in life, having a good life, feeling that our life had a meaning, it has a purpose. But there is yet another definition that speaks about when are we most happy. And the answer to that is that we are most happy when we achieve something at the moment of achieving it, okay? And it is a challenge to our capabilities. But it is not a challenge such that we are unable to achieve it, but enough to make us achieve it. For example, if you're a doctor, you're a surgeon, then you're the happiest when you're operating on someone and the operation is very delicate and it is a challenge to your skills and you succeed. This is when you're most happy, if you're a surgeon. And you can base on that. So happiness in the home. Now I think before we talk about the application of happiness to a specific situation, in this case the home, we should talk about happiness in general, the most important aspects of being happy, without which, if they are missing, then you will not be happy if you had all these fine details that we will go to, inshallah. And the first thing, and we spoke about how happiness is being content and more so seeing that your life had purpose, that your life was worth living, and therefore what comes to mind is the purpose of life. You have been created here for a purpose. And therefore, if you do not meet that purpose, then you will not be happy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in such a way that if we go astray from the purpose of life, we will not be happy. There will always be something that will nag at us and try to bring us back to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have a relative who I think, Allahu A'lam, maybe now he has changed, but I think at one time he didn't really have faith. Even though he achieved the highest possible academic levels. He was working for an American oil company, okay, and he was making a lot of money, but he wasn't happy. And I spoke to him more than once, and the main question for him is why? Why am I here? What am I doing here? Why am I living? And believe me, brothers, alhamdulillah, we are mu'mins, we come to pray, and we're not nagged by these questions. But if you do not believe me, these questions will go to the core of your existence and make life for you horrible, because you don't know why you're here. And you don't know where you came from, and you don't know where you're going. And if you start thinking on those lines, then you will be sad. You will be miserable. Okay? And that's why atheists, at the end, they tend to commit suicide. Why? Because they can't bear the notion that there is no God, that there is no creation, that life is just a big accident, a freak accident. Okay? And therefore faith, to start with, faith, the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is essential to achieving this happiness that we all seek. In fact, there's a verse in the Quran, a beautiful verse in the Quran, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَعْرَضْ عَنْ ذِكْرِ فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. Whoever turns away from mentioning Allah, from remembering Allah, for him is a life that is narrowed down. Your life on earth will be narrowed down, will be miserable. Okay? So without going into the details and the finer details of the etiquette of happiness, if you like, or even sometimes the pretense of happening, the most important thing is having faith and having a purpose. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship Him. That's true. But further on, and more to that, every single one of us has his own unique purpose in life. Not just the overall purpose in which we worship Allah, but each one of us has his own purpose. Our Prophet says, كُلٌّ مُيَسَّرٌ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. كُلٌّ مُيَسَّرٌ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. And therefore, if you do not know, to know your purpose, your unique purpose, you've got to know yourself. Okay? And therefore, if you do not know yourself, you will simply be like a blind man in a dark room, and you will just bump into every piece of furniture and every wall in the room and will not be able to find your way out. And therefore, you need to know yourself to achieve happiness. What am I capable of? Okay? Am I a boxer? Maybe I should go and challenge the champion of boxing. But if I'm not a boxer, I will not even go there. Huh? So I need to know myself. Am I capable? Am I a mathematician? Shall I become a scientist? Or am I more oriented towards art? And that's why it pains me. And I've been working a lot with Muslim schools. Okay? It pains me when I ask the girls and the boys at these Islamic schools, what do you want to be when you become older, when you graduate? And the most answer I get is doctor. Doctor, doctor, and you know, I keep saying this. I've said it here many times, but I'll say it again. If you're not made of doctor stuff, if you're not that person, then becoming a doctor, you will not achieve happiness. You may become a doctor, you may make money, but you will not be happy. You will only be happy when you find yourself, when you know who you are, and what you are, and what you're capable of. So if you're not doctor stuff, don't become a doctor. If you're artistic, then go for the arts. That's who you are. That's where you will find happiness, because you're achieving, through the challenges that you meet in life, the purpose of your existence, your unique purpose, not just the overall purpose. The overall purpose is there, but your unique purpose is very important. And therefore it is very important to know who we are. I know a lot of brothers, subhanAllah, when they become committed to Islam, they want to drop everything and go and study in Saudi Arabia or I don't know where and become imams. What's this, yeah? Do you think the companions of the Prophet were all the same? No, they were not. How did they live, the companions of the Prophet? Did you know Uthman radiallahu anhu was a businessman? A businessman! Okay? And so on and so forth. Okay? They didn't stop what they were doing. They didn't change. They didn't drop everything. No. To become committed to Islam doesn't mean that you become a copy of an original. It doesn't mean that you leave your life and become someone else. No, we don't want imams. We want a doctor who is good practicing, good example of a doctor. An accountant who's a good example of an accountant. A taxi driver who's a good example of a taxi driver. And so on and so forth. We want a Muslim community. Not a Muslim elite. A community. A neighborhood. Okay? He's the carpenter. He's the plumber. He's the GP. He's the taxi driver. He's this, he's that. And they're all practicing. And they all know their Islam. Okay? We don't want we don't want copies from someone, and therefore don't try to be someone else. Don't try to become someone else, but become the best that you can. If you try to become someone else, you will not be happy. Because that's not you. As simple as that. It's not you. You will try to copy someone, and you will lose yourself. We have a saying about the crow. We say that the crow tried to imitate he looked at it, the way he walked, he didn't like it. So he looked around and he found that the best walk was the walk of the pigeon. So he tried to imitate the walk of the pigeon. He never mastered the walk of the pigeon, and he forgot his own. So he lost his own walk, and he did not manage to copy he was lost in between. Don't be the crow. Don't lose yourself. But be yourself. Find out who you are and be yourself. And then life will deal you blows. Up and down, good and bad. How do you deal with it? Because one part of the definition is positive thinking. To have these positive attitudes towards life. And Islam, subhanAllah, provides us with incredible tools to turn even the negative into positive. For example, the Prophet ﷺ says, أَمْرُ الْمُؤْمِنِ كُلُّهُ خَيْرٌ إِنْ أُعْطِيَ شَكَرٌ فَذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ وَإِنْ مُنِعَ صَبَرٌ فَذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. That whatever happens to a believer is good for him. If you have this perception that whatever happens to you is good for you, and you believe in it, and you can see it, okay, then there will be no need for you to be sad. Okay? Good or bad. The Prophet ﷺ says, if he is given, he's given health, wealth, wife, children, property, whatever, he is grateful and thankful. And that's good for him. But if he's denied health, if he's denied wealth, if he's denied a wife, if he's denied children, you know, all the things that we want, if we are denied, we are patient. That's what the Prophet ﷺ says. Sabr, he is patient, and that's good for him. Okay? And we always return to Allah, even when calamity befalls us. We return to Allah and ask Him to help us out of this calamity. And that means that there is a reference point above us and beyond us that we always return to, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will make us satisfied with whatever befalls us. These are if you like, the introduction to happiness. These are the general rules. And then there are specifics to our life and how we deal with it. For example, let me get closer to the home. A home here, to me, is a man and a wife. So when you want to choose a wife, you want to choose a wife who's going to make you happy. Okay? And how do we choose a wife? We go back to our religion, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created us, knows best how we can achieve this happiness. And through our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are told about the wife. For example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ad-dunya mata." Dunya, this life, is an enjoyment. Mata, something to enjoy for a while. وَخَيْرُ مَتَاعِهَا الْمَرْأَةُ الصَّالِحَةُ. And the best enjoyment in dunya is a pious woman. Mar'a salihah. So when you marry, you should look for someone who is a good practicing Muslim woman. If you don't marry a good practicing Muslim woman, how do you expect your children to become good practicing children? How do you know that she will not betray you in more ways than one? How will she guide you if you do wrong? Did your wife ever tell you, husband, what you're doing is haram, please stop, this is haram? Yes, your wife should tell you that. What good is she to you if she leads you to hellfire and not to paradise? And the other way around, have you ever told her, wife, you must wear the hijab, this is haram? You're not wearing the hijab, is not on. Wife, what you're doing is backbiting, please stop. Our Prophet ﷺ forbade us to backbite. Otherwise, our relationship with our wives, what is it based on? Is it just coming together in the bedroom? That's it. And then everyone goes on his own way and has his own life. That's miserable. That is. And therefore the best thing you should seek is to seek a wife who knows her duties and her responsibilities and who helps you achieve the pleasure of Allah. If you only seek beauty, this beauty will go. If you seek status and wealth, it will also go. The only thing that will remain is as-salah, piety. Okay? And if you seek, and therefore the Prophet ﷺ tells us another thing. أنكحوا الولود الودود. Okay? Marry someone who is walud and wadud. What does walud means? Means she bears children. Okay? Don't marry someone who doesn't bear children. How do you know? You look at her family history. Is her family, does she have many brothers and sisters, for example? Or is she an only daughter? Well, if she's an only daughter, then there is danger there. Okay? If she's got many brothers and sisters, then this is a family that produces a lot of children. And children, mata' dunya. This is the enjoyment of dunya. Children. Okay? المال والبنون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, المال, wealth, and banun, children, are the enjoyment of this life. Okay, and they contribute to the overall happiness of your sense of achievement and sense of continuity. Okay, and wadud is an Arabic word which means love or lovable, or someone who is capable of loving, but it's not a turmoil love, it's a tranquil type of love, a homely love. Okay, and there are women who will fuss about their husband and try to get his pleasure and satisfy him and do things for him. They are lovable, they enter your heart. And there are women who are always nagging and always not happy and never are satisfied and never are content. And when you come into the home, you wish that you will leave as soon as possible. Okay? Don't marry that woman. Marry al-wadud, al-walud, if you want to be happy. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says to Uqba, radiyallahu anhu, Uqba asked the Prophet, how can I be safe? I.e. enter paradise and come out of dunya safe. And he said, and the Prophet ﷺ said to Uqba, أمسك عليك لسانك. Hold this. Don't speak ill. Don't backbite. Don't say words that are haram. Speak as less as possible. The less you speak, the less danger you are in. In a hadith in al-Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ says, رُبَّ كَلِمَةٍ لَا تُلْقِ لَهَا بَالٍ تَهْوِ بِكَ فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ 70 خَرِيفًا. Maybe you utter a word that you do not pay attention to. You just say it. And you don't pay attention to it. It will dip you in hellfire for 70 springs. 70 in hellfire. So we have to be very careful. And then the second advice, and that's the purpose of quoting this hadith. وَلْزِمْ بَيْتَكَ. Keep to your home. Stay in your home. Okay? And scholars have argued, did he mean actually to remain in the house physically, or does it mean to be satisfied with his wife and his children and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him in the form of a home, or does it mean to simply, keep away from evil and haram things by remaining in the place that he knows and that he has control of? That could be all these meanings. But at the end of the day, if our homes are places that we don't want to be, then we are not happy, and we will never be happy. Okay? So we need to make our homes, places that we are comfortable in, happy in, content in. How do we do this? We do this in a number of ways. Okay? And we go back to the nasiha, or the advice of the Prophet ﷺ. And the first nasiha is, don't turn your homes into graves. Do not let your homes be graves. What do? We have to pray in them. Okay? And it is the sunnah, and I'm not trying to do something here and topple the apple cart or anything like that. But the real sunnah is you pray fard in the mosque and you pray sunnah in your homes. Okay? I understand that many of us, if we don't pray the sunnah in the mosque, we will never pray it at home. I understand that. But you must have a prayer for your homes. Let it be al-Fajr. You pray Fajr in your home, and then you come to the mosque to pray as-Subh. Sunnah of al-Fajr, pray it at home. Make wudu, pray it at home, walk to the mosque and pray fard. Okay? Before you sleep, pray al-Watr. At least. So you have to pray. And not only pray, but you need to pray with your wife. And you need to pray with your children. Okay? And therefore, you need to give your wife and your children. I know many wives, and as I was introduced, I'm a counselor, and people come to me, and sometimes I face very sad stories, very sad indeed. Okay? But some wives, they would be very happy when the husband is not at home. And when the husband comes at home, everything becomes, stressed. Why? Because the husband does this stress. The husband is not easy to deal with. He's strict. He's always criticizing. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ never criticized. Never. One of his servants, he said, I've served the Prophet for I don't know how many years. Not once did he tell me, why did you do this? Or why didn't you do that? Okay? So to criticize is to turn your life into hell. That's what it is. Okay? Who is complete? Do you think you're complete? Do you think you're perfect? How about if your wife starts criticizing you? Would you like it? I can understand that sometimes we have to criticize. But it shouldn't be our habit. It shouldn't be the norm. Okay? A man came to Umar when he was a Khalifa, radiallahu anhu, and he came to complain about his wife, the way she treats her. Okay? And when he entered, he heard the wife of Umar shouting at Umar. Okay? And Umar accepting it, not... And the man said, I came to complain to you about the way my wife treats me, and I find that you are being treated ill. And he said to him, but shouldn't I accept this from her? Because she washes for me, she cooks for me, she provides me with children, she does this and she does that, and when I'm ill she takes care of me, and you know, one of the saddest stories I've encountered, people that I've known all my life in Manchester, was this. A woman comes to me and she was, I think maybe 54, 55 years old, okay? She tells me, I want to divorce my husband. Sister, Allahu Akbar, you're 54. Why do you want to divorce him? And she says, you know, Abu Sondes, I've lived with this man for over 35 years. Not once did he tell me a nice word. Not once. Not once. I said to myself at the beginning, he will change. And then I had my first child. So I said, I will stay for my child. And then the second child. And then the third child. But now, khalas, the children have grown up. Okay? He is now terminally ill. And I would have gladly stayed had he become terminally ill and became civil. But even in bed, he will swear and accuse me of this and accuse me of that and insult me. Why should I stay? What is there in it for me? Nothing, except pain and sadness. Isn't that a sad story? A whole life wasted, no happiness. Why? Isn't she a human being who deserves respect? And therefore I always say, marriage, the home, is like a fountain. A fountain is made up of two things. It's a base, a basin, okay, and a nozzle. And the more water you shoot up, the more you receive. The more you put, the more you invest in your life, the more you receive. Unless, of course, your nozzle is crooked and it's shooting water outside the basin, in which case you need to correct it. Okay? If you ask the question, who gives first, me or my wife, then it's not going to work. You have to give both of you. Okay? And you have to spend quality time with your children. A good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, a very important man in Manchester, very busy, always. Once, I advised him to take a holiday. And he took a holiday, okay? And he went on a road trip to France with his car. And he took his wife and his son and his daughter. And then when he came back, I met him and I asked him, how was the holiday? And he said to me, Abu Sondes, I've discovered there was a man living in my house that I didn't know. My son. He didn't know his son. And how many of us truly don't know our children? I come across a lot of people who start their life with the intention of working very hard to build their, their economical strength. They have two jobs. They work, they are employed, and then they have a side business where they want to make money. But this means that they never have time for their children or for their wives. And years will pass by. And they will become into the habit of working. They become workaholic. They cannot stop. Okay? And suddenly, they have their own life, and their family and their children have another life. Is that happiness? No, it isn't. You need to have quality time. You need to spend time with your wives or wife and with your children. Okay? And you need to build memories. And you need to be there for them. Sometimes people come to me and say, Abu Sondes, my son did this. Where did this problem come from? Well, wake up and smell the coffee. It's always been there. But you did not see it. It did not start now. It started many years ago. But you were not there to observe it and to correct it. It starts very little. Okay? And then with time, the gap becomes very wide and you cannot bring it back. You could have brought it back here. Okay, if you were there, but you weren't there. And to depend only on your wife, that's not fair. Okay? Your wife is supposed to take care of their physical needs, their food, their washing, and inject some tarbiyah. But the tarbiyah depends on you, the correcting of behavior is your duty and your responsibility as a man. Okay, so you need to be there. And you need to work with your wife. Okay? And that is when you achieve happiness, when you're in harmony with your wife. And it is your duty to make sure that you pick the right wife in the first place. For many of us, halas, it's too late. Either we have picked the right wife or we haven't. If we haven't, we need to correct things. Look at ourselves. Are we faulty? Try to win our wives and apply the hadiths that are general. For example, ما كان اللين في شيء إلا زانه وما نزع عن شيء إلا شانه. Whenever there is gentleness in anything, it will beautify it. The Prophet ﷺ says, in anything. Especially, of course, the Prophet didn't say this, but this could be applied to the wife as well. When you are gentle with her, your relationship with her will become beautiful. Okay? The first time she might be surprised. There is a joke about a scholar who was giving khutbah on Friday, and he was talking about the relationship between a man and a wife, and how a man, when he goes to work, he should phone his wife and ask her, how are you, and how's everything, how's the children, you know. And so everyone in the hall called their wives. After a while, all the mobiles started ringing, and the wife's calling back, are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you sure nothing is wrong? Because they are not used to their husbands phoning them and asking them, how are you, and how's life? Because we take our wives, and of course if there are sisters listening, the opposite is also true, our husbands as well, we take them for granted. Okay? Al-ibtisama, the Prophet ﷺ says, a smile in the face of your brother is a sadaqah. So, in the face of your wife, it's also a sadaqah, because your wife is your sister in Islam. Isn't she? She is. And therefore, all the hadiths that speak about how to deal with people, and how to be gentle, and how to be kind, and how to take it easy, apply to your wife. Okay? And if you keep looking at her faults, and see only her faults, she is not going to be happy, and you will not be happy, and the home will not be happy. Okay? We'll come to the children. The children, because this is the home, and we're talking about happiness in the home. The children, I'll start off with an incident that happened during the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab. A man came to Umar radiallahu anhu, and he was the Khalifa, complaining about his son. And he said to him, my son is not faithful to me. So Umar ordered for the son to be brought in front of him. The son is brought, and Umar asks him, why aren't you faithful to your parent, to your father? And the young man says, does my father have a duty towards me? Does my father have a duty towards me? And Umar said, yes. And the young man said, can you please tell me what are the duties of my father towards me? And Umar says, his duty is to choose your mother carefully. Okay? These are your responsibilities, brothers. You must choose carefully for the future, the mother of your future children. Don't choose just someone who looks nice, but someone who can be a good mother. And likewise, sister, you must choose someone who can be a good father. And what's the second duty? To choose your name carefully, to give you a good name. Okay? And what's the third one? To educate you and prepare you for life. Teach you Quran, Islam, to make you ready for life. These are the three duties that Umar radiallahu anhu said. And the man said, well, my mother was so and so, and she's definitely not a good mother. He gave me a very bad name. He called me Ajlan, which means beetle, the black beetle. okay? And he never educated me. So Umar turned to the man and started hitting him on the head with his stick, and he said, you were not faithful to him before he was not faithful to you. لَقَدْ عَقَبْتَهْ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَعُقَّكَ. Okay? So yes, we have duties towards our children. We have to make sure that they have the right beginning, the right base to which upon which they will become strong and capable and revive the ummah. If we give them, if we handicap them such that they are unable to meet the world, they will just be a burden. So how do we inject this into them? We inject this into them by providing a good mother. I know that many of you ended up this way or will end up this way. Alhamdulillah, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but I'm saying that the probability of it not working is more. Okay? If you're brought in this country, born in this country, and then your parents marry you off to someone from somewhere around the world, okay, who doesn't speak English, for example, that's worse, okay, doesn't understand the technology, she's from a different world, how is she going to be a good mother to your children? Who's going to go to the school to meet the teachers on behalf of your children? You're very busy working. Your wife, she doesn't speak English. What is she going to do? What are you going to do? Will your children be proud that this is my mother? Oh, my sweet teacher, this is my mother. She doesn't speak English. She doesn't know what you're talking about. She's not from this world. So you're putting obstacles in front of your children. The other point is giving a good name to your son and to your daughter. And this means not just a good name from an Islamic point of view, but a good name from this country's point of view as well. Because some Islamic names are good, but when you give it to a son and you send him off to school, he will be tormented by that name. Yes. I'll just give you an example. One of the prophets is called Sheet. That's the name of a prophet. Will you call your son Sheet and send him off to school? Of course not. And there Awis, for example, another Arabic beautiful name, Islamic name. Again, I wouldn't call my son Awis. That could be changed very quickly to something very bad in this country. And therefore I have to think, give it a little thought, that I'm going to give a name to my son that will help him face the world, not a name that will become an obstacle for him. And then training him and preparing him for this world. How do we prepare our children? We prepare our children, and this is the way we achieve happiness in ourselves and in our children and in our family, by making them depend on themselves. I told you about the young man who came to me and he said to me, I'm married and I don't want my wife, and my wife, she's in my original country, and I don't want to bring her here. Why did you marry her? Well, my mother forced me. Allahu Akbar. With these type of people, we are going to rebuild the glory of Islam. La wallah, it's not going to happen. If this is the type of children we're producing, who have no will of their own, who cannot say no, who have no choice, how can we achieve what we want to achieve for the ummah? But we bring up our children to be independent of us, to make the right choices. Why did Ibrahim alayhi salam say to Ismail alayhi salam, إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى? I see in my sleep that I'm slaughtering you, O Ismail. What do you think? I imagine my father comes to me and he says to me, may Allah be pleased with him, Sondes, I see in my dream that I'm slaughtering you. What do you think? I will say to him, Father, I will not sleep beside you anymore. Assalamu alaikum. Isn't that so? Why didn't Ismail say this? Why did Ibrahim give Ismail a choice? Think about those things. Why was Musa alayhi salam brought in Pharaoh's house? So that he is brought up free, because the sons of Israel are slaves. So to bring up your son to be a free person who has his own will and who has his own choices, but he makes the right choices. So you teach him to make the right choices, but then you let him make the choices. And if he makes a mistake, that's fine. You've made plenty of mistakes. Why couldn't your son make a mistake? And he will be responsible for his mistake. But if he makes a mistake and he's not been trained like this, he will blame you for his mistake. And how do you do that? From day one. From when your son is able to say, I like blue, I don't like green. You go and buy a t-shirt for your son, let him choose the t-shirt, or your daughter. Let him choose the color he wants. He may choose a color that you don't like. Yes, you don't like it, but he likes it. And he's going to wear it. And it will give him a sense of worth, a sense of self-respect. Okay? I chose this shirt. Here, you want the trousers? I can afford 20 pounds. Here's 20 pounds, you go and buy your own trousers. Small things, but it develops confidence in them. Umar ibn al-Khattab was walking down the street with his advisors, and he was the Khalifa of the most powerful country on earth at that time. Umar ibn al-Khattab. Okay, and some children were playing down the street, they say Umar al-Khattab, they run away, except Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam. Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam doesn't run away. Umar walks up to him. Why didn't you run away, Abdullah? Because he knew who Abdullah was. Abdullah says, why should I run away? I haven't done anything wrong to run away, and the road is wide enough for both of us. Cheeky little guy. I like cheeky. Okay? It shows that he is confident. I haven't done anything wrong, and the road is wide enough for both of us. You can pass. Okay? And therefore, building confidence in our children and watching them and seeing them confident, that brings immense happiness to the parents. Wallahi, it does. I am proud. My children, they are confident. They can achieve things. They can do things. They don't need me. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Okay? But if your children cannot make a step without taking permission, without wanting help, and come and help me do this, and come and help me do that, and they're not confident, and you always blame them. Okay? There is a village in Africa, this is a study, that the village believes that anyone who's born on Monday is going to be someone great. A leader, a rich man, a businessman, okay? And anyone who's born on Thursday is going to be a failure. Worthless, nothing. And subhanAllah, they found that it's true. All people born on Monday have achieved greatness, have become someone. And all those born on Thursday were failures. But then, you know what they discovered? They discovered that this is because of expectations. When a son is born on Monday, you know, he comes to his father and says, Dad, I want something. I want 20 pounds or 100 pounds. Oh yes, my son, here you are. Okay, you're going to be someone. You're going to be great. Wow, you're a great man. Here. The Thursday son comes and he says, Father, I want 100 pounds. What? You, failure, I give you 100 pounds, you're going to waste it. No way. So you inject in them this sense of failure, that you're going to be nothing, you're going to amount to nothing, you're going to be this, and some people, some parents, especially women, they have this red card, yeah, like the referee. And the red card is the obedience of parents. And unfortunately in our society we use it a lot. Every time the daughter does something, the red card comes out. If I am angry with you, you shall never enter paradise. If you don't obey me, you're going to go to hellfire. You want your children to go to hellfire? Is that what you want? What's this red card that you're always bringing out, you know, and controlling your children because of it? You have to marry this woman, otherwise I will not speak to you. It's not your right. I have to do this, you have to do that with the red card. No, ya akhi, not with the red card, with love, with flowers, with happiness. Advise them, teach them, train them, okay? Let them make their choice. Let them be happy with it. And that's when you're happy. I am more happy when I know that my wife and my children obey me because they love me, not because they fear me. I don't want fear, I want love. Because love makes me happy, and makes us happy, and puts happiness in us. The final thing that I will end up quickly is to observe certain things that affect us, like the color of the house, for example. Yes? I've entered homes in which I felt a sense of doom and gloom. You know, you enter a house and it's dark and the colors are dark, and you feel, you know, you feel that your soul is being oppressed. No, ya akhi, change the colors, make them bright, make them happy, okay? The number of people living in the house, okay? Especially in our homes. In our homes, you know, most homes in the UK are just barely enough for a couple or a family of 2 or 3. And sometimes, you know, you find a man and his wife and his children in one room. Why, ya akhi? So these little things, the color of the house, the harmony, the furniture, is there clutter, is there things piled on top of each other, okay? When you want a spanner, you cannot get it, it's there, you know it's there, you bought it, but you can't get it. Why? Because you don't know where it is, because there are so many things in the house. It irritates you, doesn't it? And that does not help with happiness. And therefore happiness, and there is a hadith actually, don't make your house, homes, collection or clutter or whatever, especially the hallways. The Prophet ﷺ says, don't be like the Jews and do not clutter your hallways, okay? And we do that. We collect a lot of stuff. We don't like to throw things. No, this is, you know, no, ya akhi. Even the body, we eat food and we, you know, get rid of waste, but that waste, at least 70% is useful. Even the waste has some useful material in it, okay? So even the body gets rid, this is natural, okay? If you have something, you're not going to use it, get rid of it. Don't have furniture all over the place. Allow for human interactive in a very nice, smooth way. I can go on in that, but I'll stop here. Jazakumullah khair. It has been a pleasure. Barakallahu fikum.